En primer lugar, Gordon, muchas gracias por su tiempo para esta entrevista con Kiss Argentina.
Hello, Kiss Army Argentina. So great to be here with you. Thank you.
Vamos a empezar. Hay muchas cosas que nos gustaría saber. Por ejemplo, te conocí Acy Frehley a través de una amiga suya llamada Linda, con quien salió a mediados de los 80. Lo que fue la primera impresión de Acy cuando lo conoció.
Linda was one of my best friends. We hung out at all the clubs down China Club, Limelight, New York City. Linda was having an affair with Ace, and she always spoke to Ace about me because you guys are, I think you'd be compatible as friends, so to speak. My first impressions of Ace, well, I saw Ace at a club called the Rising Sun, and I used to see him all the time at a studio that I recorded at, and we weren't friends, we were just acquaintances. I'd just see him passing by all the time, and everybody would go, "There's Ace Frehley from Kiss." My first impression, he was always drunk all the time. He was always having a good time, but he was always drunk, and he hung out with Bob McAdams, my co-author of Kiss and Tell. My first impressions weren't that great of Ace. When Linda did say, you should meet up with Ace, this and that, I was familiar with him. We were acquaintances through the neighborhood, but then after Linda died, that's when Ace and I became bonded, so to speak. Ace invited me down to his apartment to work on the first album, Frehley's Comet album.
Durante estos primeros años con Ace, usted vivió todo el proceso de lo que más tarde se convirtió con el Cometa Frehley. En las primeras presentaciones de la banda en lugares como el Club de China, Cat Club, etc. ¿Cómo Ace vivió ese proceso, teniendo en cuenta que con Kiss se ha performado en grandes estados llenos y que casi de repente tuvo que empezar de cero como artista en solitario?
I saw him perform at the Cat Club with Anton Fig, and I was hanging out with them at the time. He was just like a regular, trying to make it over again, trying to build up his name and reputation as a solo artist. I mean, he was sort of in the same boat I was in, because I was playing with all these local bands, and Ace was now a local band. He did great stuff with Frehley's Comet. How he handled it, I don't think he really cared. He loved playing, but the business end of it, he didn't push it, and he depended on other people for promotion and trying to get a machine behind him again. That's when Megaforce picked him up, Megaforce Records, which was a small label. It wasn't like the label that I think Polygram at the time and Kiss was on. They were on Casablanca and went to Polygram. And Ace had to start over on a small label. How he handled it, he was still the partier that we all know of Ace. So his work ethics were questionable, if you understand that.
Se podría decir que inmediatamente después que conoció a Ace, que se convirtió en su mano derecha, todo fue muy rápido y de una manera muy caótica. También de acuerdo con lo que podemos leer en su libro Kiss and Tell.
Well, you have to understand that in Kiss and Tell, the timeline of everything is like shortened. So it does seem like we quickly became best of friends. I think that's what you mean by right-hand man. We did bond pretty quickly. I kind of motivated him a little. As a struggling musician, he could see, in me, what you had to do over again to start from scratch, so to speak. So I kind of think he saw it in my eyes, how to get the brass ring again. I mean, we became friends pretty quickly when he invited me down to his apartment to work on the Frehley's Comet album. And I did the samples for Breakout and Something Moved, and I forget what other songs. We had the same common interests of instruments and sampling and kind of computers we were into, and we're talking about mid '80s. Yeah, and the book is a snapshot of our of my life with Ace. Everybody thinks that was everything in my life. No, I worked with other bands, and I worked with, I was working with many other famous artists also. Different interests, because I was into progressive rock music, and Ace was more, Kiss, and I liked Ace's music. It progressed from Kiss and was a little harder. I wish I had more influence on Ace back then, because I wanted him to go in the direction of Ozzy with those, when he did No More Tears with the keyboards and things like that. I think it would have been a great sound and a great mix for Ace to bounce off of, but it never progressed that far. Ace wanted to keep it simple, guitar, rock and roll.
En su libro también dice que el cometa Frehley podría tener realmente éxito si hubiera querido, como John Regan, el bajista de la banda, también era muy inteligente para hacer negocios, pero que al mismo tiempo el compartimiento errático no era exactamente útil, debido a que John Regan finalmente dejó la banda cansado de tener que lidiar solo con todo.
John Regan was, he was the, I think he took over where Bill Aucoin was doing with Kiss, John Regan was doing with Ace, and he was doing all the business and the money, the financing behind Ace in the studio. So I think Ace owed a lot to John Regan at the time, because John was doing all the work. Ace was just doing his playing and performing and his limited input. But John was definitely doing way more than Ace to keep Frehley's Comet going. Yeah, in the book Kiss and Tell, I described when it was the final straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know if you know that expression. When John finally had enough was when they were out in California, and Ace said he was too sick to perform, and he went with a girlfriend to Magic Mountain. John found out Ace went to Magic Mountain instead of performing, and they needed the money. So that's when John called it quits. That was unfortunate, because John put a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources into helping out Ace, and Ace took advantage of it and didn't care enough about his solo career, and that was the demise of John Regan with Frehley's Comet. John went on to work with Peter Frampton. He was working with Peter Frampton for many years, and he's recorded with so many people: Cyndi Lauper, the Rolling Stones, John Waite. It was no really big loss for him to lose Ace, as he worked with so many other artists. Great guy, great bass player.
¿Qué recuerdo tienes de Eric Carr? Recordamos que Ace y Eric eran amigos y que, por ejemplo, cuando los Cometa tuve que sustituir a Todd Howard durante la audición para guitarrista, Ace finalmente decidió llamar a Richie Scarlett, con quien ya habría trabajado durante los primeros años de los Cometa. Eric era el baterista en el estudio de toda una tarde y noche.
Eric Carr, truly, truly missed. He was, I always say it, he was the nicest guy out of the whole Kiss family, out of all the musicians that worked with Kiss and all the people that I was in contact with Kiss. Eric Carr was the nicest, and I always said I wish I was his best friend, even more than Ace, because Eric was, he was sober, and he was a sweetheart of a guy, and really cared about the fans, and he went the extra mile when fans were around. Even when he played with Kiss, when they had the after parties, Eric made it a point to hang out with the fans. Eric really appreciated the stardom, and always gave thanks to his fans. He holds a special place in my heart, because Eric, every time I ran into him back in the day, he was great. He was, I do miss him, and we all do. He was a really talented drummer, a great drummer, and a great guy.